chosen one, stop right there. Do not scroll past this moment. I am not making a request. I am delivering a legal notice over your life. There are contracts operating against you that you never knowingly signed. Agreements formed without your awareness. Covenants established behind the scenes that have restricted you for years. Tonight, every single one of them is being revoked. This is not symbolic language. This is not dramatic expression. This is a legal action unfolding right now in the courts of heaven. At exactly 3:33 this morning, I was taken into a vision that revealed something I had never fully understood. I found myself standing inside heaven's legal archives. Angels were retrieving files from shelves that stretched farther than sight could measure. Each file contained binding spiritual agreements that granted the enemy legal permission to operate in human lives. Then I saw your file. It was thick, page after page of contracts you did not realize existed. Agreements formed through trauma. Covenants established by words spoken over you. Contracts activated through generational cycles. Deals sealed in moments of weakness. The angel holding your file looked at me urgently and said, "These contracts have been enforced for years. Every time heaven attempted to release a blessing, the enemy presented documentation. Every time breakthrough was authorized, he produced legal proof. Every time freedom was approved, he demonstrated binding agreements. But tonight, termination orders have been signed. Every contract is being cancelled. Every agreement is being voided. Every covenant with darkness is being dismantled." Then the voice of God thundered through the archives and said, "Tell my chosen one the contracts are terminated. What bound them no longer binds them. What restrained them no longer restrains them. What gave the enemy access has been revoked. The termination is effective immediately. That termination is for you. Do not scroll away. Do not disconnect from this moment. If you leave before the seventh contract is exposed and terminated, you risk allowing agreements to continue operating against you. Stay until the end. Every contract must be brought into the light in order to be legally cancelled. Before we go deeper, you need to take action. Type "all contracts terminated" in the comments below. This is not casual typing. This is your signature placed on the termination order. You are aligning your consent with heaven's ruling. The legal process requires your agreement. Type it now, then subscribe and activate all notifications. What follows this message will teach you how to prevent new contracts from forming. If you miss it, you may be free tonight but vulnerable tomorrow. Do not delay. Subscribe now. Stay with me. The Spirit is about to reveal the 7 contracts being terminated over your life. Contract termination number 1. The contract of unworthiness. This is the first agreement being dissolved, and many do not realize they ever signed it. It was formed the moment someone spoke words over you that you absorbed as truth. Words declaring you were not enough. Words insisting you did not deserve goodness. Words suggesting you were inferior. Maybe a parent compared you to others. Maybe a teacher declared you would never succeed. Maybe a partner diminished your value. Maybe repeated failure caused your own voice to turn against you. Regardless of the source, a contract was established, the contract of unworthiness, and it has been enforced ever since. Every time a blessing approached you, the enemy presented the agreement. He argued, "This one consented to being unworthy." They cannot receive what they do not believe they deserve, and heaven, operating within spiritual law, honored the agreement you believed. But tonight, that contract has been legally challenged and terminated. Tonight, the courtroom shifted. Jesus himself stepped forward before the bench. He did not argue emotionally. He presented evidence. He declared, "I gave my life for this one. My blood establishes their worth. Any contract claiming otherwise is fraudulent. It was signed through deception. It was formed through lies. I demand immediate termination and permanent nullification of the contract of unworthiness." The gavel struck. The document was ripped in two. The agreement was voided. Epistle to the Romans 8:1 now activates over your life. There is therefore now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. No condemnation means no legal basis for unworthiness. You are worthy because Christ declared you worthy. Any agreement that said otherwise has been lawfully terminated. Within 14 days you will recognize the evidence. You will receive something good and not feel compelled to push it away. You will hear a compliment and accept it without deflection. You will enter a room without shrinking your presence. The contract of unworthiness is cancelled. You are free to receive. Do not disengage. The second contract termination is even more strategic. Contract termination number 2. The contract of poverty. This agreement has restrained your finances for years. It may have originated in your bloodline. Grandparents struggled. Parents struggled. You inherited the pattern. This family never prospers. We are destined to lack. Money will always be difficult. Or perhaps it formed through your own declarations. Every time you said, "I'll never afford that." Every time you insisted, money always disappears. Every time you aligned your words with scarcity, the enemy collected them. He drafted them into legal language. He archived them. He enforced them. Financial opportunities were intercepted. Doors of increase were blocked. Provision was delayed because documentation existed, claiming you had agreed with poverty. But tonight, that agreement has been challenged in the highest court. The atmosphere shifted again as the ultimate authority spoke. God declared, "I am the owner of all silver and gold. I am the source of provision. Any contract restricting my child's access to supply is unauthorized. The generational curse is broken. The poverty agreement is nullified. The covenant of scarcity is terminated. Release their inheritance immediately." Book of Deuteronomy 18:18 activates over your finances. Remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the power to create wealth. The ability to produce wealth is being restored. The contract that blocked it has been legally dissolved. Within 21 days, you will witness evidence. Resources will move where they were previously obstructed. Opportunities will appear where doors once remained closed. Provision will manifest where lack once dominated. The contract of poverty is terminated. You are free to prosper. Stay with me. The third termination reaches into your relationships. Contract termination number 3, the contract of rejection. This agreement has sabotaged connections throughout your life. It often began in childhood, the moment someone who should have loved you chose distance. The moment someone who should have stayed walked away. The moment someone who should have protected you caused harm. In that painful instant, a contract was drafted. It declared, "This one will always be rejected. This one will never be fully accepted. This one will be left behind." You did not sign with ink. You signed with belief. You signed with internalized expectation. You signed with a wounded heart that accepted rejection as destiny. And the enemy has enforced that contract in every relationship since. People who should have remained were pushed away. Bonds that should have deepened dissolved. Love that should have flourished was strangled. All because documentation existed, declaring rejection as your pattern. But tonight, that agreement has been brought before the court. Jesus stepped forward again and presented his case. He declared, "I was rejected so they could be received. I was abandoned so they could be embraced. I was betrayed so they could experience faithfulness." The contract of rejection was paid for at Calvary. I demand immediate termination. The gavel struck with authority. The document was torn apart. The agreement was nullified. Epistle to the Romans 15:7 now activates over your relationships. Accept one another then, just as Christ accepted you. Accepted, not dismissed. Chosen, not abandoned. Embraced, not excluded. Within 21 days, a relational shift will occur. Someone distant will move closer. A connection that seemed fractured will begin to heal. Acceptance will replace rejection. The contract of rejection is terminated. You are free to be loved. Do not disengage. The fourth termination concerns your mind. Contract termination number 4. The contract of mental torment. This agreement granted the enemy access to your thoughts. It was established through trauma, the moment pain exceeded your ability to process it. When your soul fractured just to survive, a door opened, a contract formed. It declared, this one has been traumatized. Their mind is now vulnerable. Torment may operate without resistance. Since then, it has been enforced daily. The anxiety that refuses to quiet, the depressive waves that arrive without warning, the intrusive thoughts that produce shame, the exhausting mental battles that never seem to end. These were not random episodes. They were contract enforcement. But tonight, that agreement has been legally challenged. Archangel Michael approached the bench with documented evidence and declared, this contract was signed under duress. It was formed through wounds inflicted by others. It is not valid. The Most High never authorized torment as compensation for trauma. I request immediate termination and permanent eviction of every spirit operating under this fraudulent agreement. The gavel fell to the contract was destroyed. The eviction order was issued. The ruling was immediate. Second Epistle to Timothy 1:7 now activates over your mind, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. A sound mind is not a luxury. It is your lega inheritance. Any agreement that argued otherwise has been terminated. The spirits that enforce torment have been evicted. Within 72 hours, you will sense the difference. Thoughts that once harassed you will begin to quiet. Anxiety that gripped tightly will loosen. Peace will occupy spaces that once echoed with fear. The contract of mental torment is cancelled. You are free to think clearly. The fifth termination concerns your body. Contract termination number 5. The contract of sickness. This agreement granted disease permission to operate physically. It may have begun with words spoken over you. This condition runs in our family. You will probably develop this too. Your body has always been weak, or it formed through fear every time you searched symptoms and claimed them, every time you anticipated illness and aligned your expectation with it, every time you accepted diagnosis as permanent identity. Those agreements were documented. The enemy drafted them into contracts. This one consents to inherited illness. This one claims sickness through fear. This one accepts disease as identity, and enforcement followed. Healing that should have occurred was delayed. Systems that should have restored remained compromised. Recovery that should have accelerated seemed stalled. Legal documentation gave sickness permission to remain. But tonight, that agreement has been challenged in the highest court. Jesus approached without argument. He presented his wounds and declared healing was purchased. Any contract granting sickness authority is fraudulent. The price has been paid. I demand immediate termination of every agreement contradicting what was accomplished. The contract was torn. The contract was torn. Book of Isaiah 53:5 now activates over your body. By his wounds you are healed. Healed. Already sets, secured, already authorized. Any contract claiming otherwise has been legally invalidated. Sickness no longer possesses documented permission to remain. Within 14 days, your body will begin to respond. Symptoms will lessen. Strength will increase. What felt abnormal will begin aligning properly. The contract of sickness is terminated. You are free to walk in health. Do not disconnect. The sixth termination reaches deeper than your lifetime. Contract termination number 6. The contract of generational bondage. This is one of the oldest agreements in your file. It may have been established long before you were born. An ancestor spoke a curse, entered a covenant, opened a spiritual door, made a decision that exceeded their authority. That agreement traveled down your bloodline, repeating patterns with precision, poverty recurring generation after generation, addictions claiming one family member after another, marriages collapsing in the same way every time, mental instability touching every branch of the family tree, cycles no one seemed strong enough to break. These were not coincidences, they were contract enforcement, generational agreements granting the enemy legal access to your lineage. But tonight, heaven addressed the overreach. God himself issued the decree. The one who signed did not possess authority to bind unborn generations indefinitely. The agreement exceeded its jurisdiction. I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I break generational curses. I command immediate termination of every contract established before this one was born. The bloodline is released. The pattern ends here. This one is the cycle breaker. The gavel struck. Ancient documents were torn. Long-standing agreements were voided. Book of Ezekiel 18:20 now activates over your lineage. The child will not share the guilt of the parent. You are not legally bound by what your ancestors signed. The contract of generational bondage is terminated. Within this season, you will witness cycles collapsing. Patterns that repeated for decades will lose momentum. What plagued your family will release its grip on you. Your children will inherit freedom instead of bondage. The contract of generational bondage is terminated. Your bloodline is free. Stay with me. The seventh and final termination is the most critical of all. Contract termination number 7. The contract with death. This was the master agreement, the one that empowered all the others. The enemy never wanted you to discover it. At some point, through overwhelming pain, despair, or exhaustion, an agreement was formed. Maybe it was a moment when you wished you did not exist. Maybe it was a season when ending everything felt like relief. Maybe it was words whispered in darkness. Maybe it was a silent surrender in your heart that life was too heavy to continue. In that moment, a contract was drafted. It declared, this one agrees with death. This one consents to destruction. This one opens the door to ending. And since that day, the enemy has attempted to enforce it. The near accidents, the dangerous close calls, the intrusive thoughts urging you toward harm, the circumstances that almost crushed you completely. These were not random. They were enforcement attempts. Documentation existed, claiming you had agreed. But tonight, that master contract has been brought before the highest authority. Jesus stood in the courtroom with undeniable dominion and declared, I am the resurrection and the life. I hold the keys of death and the grave. This agreement is void. It was signed in pain, not in clarity. It was formed in despair, not in sound judgment. I purchased this life with my own blood. Death has no claim here. The gavel struck with finality. The contract was not merely tore, it was burned. The ashes scattered beyond recovery. The agreement with death is permanently terminated. Gospel of John 10:10 now activates over your entire existence. I have come that they may have life, and have it abundantly. Abundantly life, not premature ending, not destruction, not silent surrender. The contract with death is terminated. You will live. You will fulfill your assignment. You will witness generations after you. Death has no remaining documentation against you. After you, bit, has no remaining documentation against you. Unworthiness cancelled. Poverty voided. Rejection dissolved. Mental torment evicted. Sickness removed. Generational bondage broken. The agreement with death destroyed in. Every contract that granted the enemy legal access to your life has been revoked. Every covenant with darkness has been nullified. You are legally free, fully, permanently, completely free. But hear this warning carefully. In the next 72 hours, the enemy will attempt to draft new agreements. Situations will arise designed to lure you into speaking old lies. He will try to provoke words of unworthiness. He will attempt to trigger declarations of scarcity. He will pressure you toward accepting rejection. He will seek consent. Do not cooperate. Your words are legal documents. Your thoughts are negotiations. Your agreements are binding instruments. What you declare carries authority. What you believe establishes access. What you accept creates permission. The old contracts are terminated. Do not authorize new ones. Now seal these rulings over your life. Speak this aloud. Your voice confirms enforcement. Almighty Father, righteous Judge, whose decisions stand without appeal, I receive the 7 contract terminations declared over my life. The contract of unworthiness is terminated. I am worthy through Christ. The contract of poverty is terminated. I am free to prosper and by create wealth. The contract of rejection is terminated. I am accepted and chosen. The contract of mental torment is terminated. I possess a sound mind protected by God. The contract of sickness is terminated. By his wounds I am healed. The contract of generational bondage is terminated. Patterns end with me. My bloodline is released. The contract with death is terminated. I will live and fulfill my purpose. I declare every agreement with the enemy null and void. I declare every covenant with darkness cancelled. The enemy has no legal claim over my life. I am legally, completely, and permanently free. Father, thank you for reviewing my file. Thank you for terminating every fraudulent contract. Thank you for granting freedom that cost me nothing but cost you everything. I refuse to sign any new contracts with the enemy. I guard my words, my thoughts, my agreements. From this day forward, I commit to signing only agreements aligned with heaven in Jesus' name. Amen. The terminations are sealed. The contracts are cancelled. The enemy has lost all legal authority. Now complete the earthly process. First, like this video. This is not about numbers. It is a notarization. Your click affirms the termination. Second, subscribe and turn on notifications. More contracts may emerge that require termination. If you are not subscribed, you may miss future declarations. Third, share this video with someone still bound by unseen agreements. Third, share this video with someone still bound by unseen agreements. They need to be released. Fourth, type all contracts null and void in the comments to witness the legal enforcement. Chosen one, you arrived bound by contracts you never signed. You leave with every agreement terminated. The enemy's legal documents have been destroyed. The covenants that limited you have been cancelled. This is not inspiration or motivation. This is legal freedom, executed in heaven's courts. Go forth, liberated. Go with authority. Nothing binds you anymore. The archives of heaven now declare all contracts terminated. That status is permanent. Walk in your legal freedom. Speak from your lawful position. Live as one whose every contract has been nullified, voided, and cancelled forever.